you have to learn to communicate and just really immerse yourself in the culture. It's really unique and special. I think the students love it, and just the challenge and excitement of it. Everyone's so welcoming. Everyone is so polite. I think German and Austrian people, especially when you say a few phrases and you're just saying thank you and please and can I have and where is, they're thrilled, like absolutely thrilled that the kids are doing that. So, just taking that home with them is really special.
Hi, I'm Trisha with American Music Abroad, and today I am speaking with Frank and Jen Zimmerer, our head directors for the Stars and Stripes Tour, and we're just going to get their perspective on what AMA is all about. Welcome.
Hey.
Thanks for having us.
Okay, so let's just start at the beginning for you, and you can maybe tell us about how you got started with AMA as directors.
Yeah, so as a high school student, I actually traveled with AMA the summer after my senior year. And at the time, I was going into music ed, planning to teach music. And throughout the years and just staying in touch with my directors and the conductors I worked with at the time, we moving to the South and meeting my husband and my former directors meeting him, they were like, what a great fit that you all might want to become conductors and take students on the trip. But at the time also, the schedule didn't really line up because the trip that I was taking was in July. That's when our students are getting ready to go back to school, doing band camps and that kind of thing. So it actually worked out for us to start a new tour out of the Southeast, which is now Stars and Stripes. So we travel in June, and that's sort of the origin story.
Yeah, growing up in the Southeast, I had no idea what American Music Abroad was. There was always those other summer travel programs, whether it be for music or for school, extracurriculars. So when Jen and I started talking about, what AMA was and her experiences with AMA, it was really a no-brainer. Both of us have a passion for travel, but also have a passion for sharing experiences with students. So, getting my feet wet with American Music Abroad and now serving as a head director is pretty incredible.
That's great. And so you're in the Southeast and you draw students from what states at the moment?
Yeah, so we're in Nashville, Tennessee, and our tour kind of radiates out from the middle Tennessee area. So throughout Tennessee, Kentucky, up all the way to Southern Ohio. And then we have students in Georgia, the Carolinas. We have students every now and then from Florida, Alabama. So kind of all over the Southeast.
That's great. I mean, it's a nice expansion because American Music Abroad is in its 50th year, but initially it started in sort of the mid-Atlantic range and went up a little bit into the northeastern states, and now we're going down. Also, you travel a little earlier in the year than some of the other summer tours because of the Southern school schedule. It's very different.
Yeah, most schools in the South start first week of August. Band camp starts for us mid-July. So all the high school students that are, big with band camp and marching band, mid-July, pretty much back to school. And then our school year ends before Memorial Day, or just around that same weekend. So like you said, a lot of the Northeastern tours are traveling in late June, July, even early August. But for us, it's great to be able to travel in that early June window so that students not only are still having a summer with their family, with their friends, with their jobs, but also avoids that marching band conflict that a lot of us high school directors have in mid-July, late July.
Right, for sure. So with you being, a few years into this, what are the things that really excite you and keep you wanting to work year after year to build a new roster and a new tour?
Yeah, I think the best thing for me is probably the student experience. And it's really interesting. Each year we have a significant number of students that come back and travel again. And got it. Of course, I traveled the summer after my senior year. So for me, it was like, oh man, so many memories, and there it was. But we have a lot of young students that travel again and again. And seeing them when we have our fall info meetings about the next year's tour, the new places we're going, we're always traveling somewhere a little bit different. So there's sort of the central part of the tour, usually Austria, Germany, and then we kind of dogleg out in a different direction each summer. So for them, it's great that they get to do something new. For us, we're always experiencing those new things with them. But I think seeing the students get back together, be excited to see their friends, even in our area when we have honor bands, for example, or there's other summer programs, or we do college visits and we go to like Tennessee Tech or Austin P or UGA and we see our former student travelers seeing each other, or like, they'll play together in a football game or something like that. Just
Yeah, that's
the
great.
whole student experience, I think, is great.
Yeah, the student experience extends before and post the trip.
Yeah.
And Jen, did you find that when you were a student that, the people you traveled with, you then stayed in touch with after
Yeah.
that tour?
I had a few friends that were my age and a few friends younger. So I actually went to a few of their high school graduations after I was in college, and went back to their graduations. A friend of mine went to Stevenson. Is Steven or Stevens or Stevenson? Steven. Whichever one's in Hoboken, I went up there.
Yes.
Institute. Yes.
Yeah. And so I visited with friends. We went into New York City, planned trips together afterwards. Still keep in touch on social media. So yeah, lifelong friends now.
Yeah, I think that's one of the experiences that are on the periphery of the reason for it, but actually really create such a allegiance to the company and the experience across all these years. I love that. And let's talk a little bit about the itineraries. Maybe you could focus first on some of the places that you perform on the tour, and if there were any favorites that have really stood out over the last couple of years for you.
Yeah, I think one of the great things about American Music Abroad is that, like Jen was saying, we do have travelers that come every year. We have head directors. We as head directors, of course, travel every year, and we have directors as well. But it's great to kind of diversify where we go each year so that we have new experiences and new places to perform. Of course, our favorite spot is always Wessendorf, Austria. Austria is a beautiful place, and it's great to be there every summer, not just with the local community, but also, performing around the Zillertal region, the Tyrolean region of Austria is pretty awesome. Like my wife mentioned, Germany as well. But for example, this summer, we get to travel east into Czech Republic and perform in Prague. We've been to Prague before, and we're really excited to bring students back to Prague. Also excited to travel to Slovakia, Bratislava will be great. In other summers, we've performed in Normandy, France, on the beaches of Normandy. We've performed in Bruges, Belgium, as far north as the Netherlands. We've even performed as far south as Rome, Italy. So it's great to kind of have that entire circle of Europe across the rivers that border France and Germany are always really, really pretty. So again, with American Music Abroad, you're not just going to the same locations every year and doing the same concerts in the same venues. The variety of performance venues. I mean, I think it's hard to say, is my favorite concert an outdoor concert with the Alps in the background, or is it a concert in a church that was built in the 1500s? It's hard to kind of describe and kind of pick, my favorite venue.
Yeah. I think my favorite concerts are the ones where there is both an amazing crowd and also an amazing scenery.
Yeah.
Whether it is that historic site, whether you're in a cathedral that is older than the US. We don't have performance venues here that are that old because we didn't exist then. The music wasn't being made then. We don't get to perform in the US where Mozart performed. You know what I mean? So I think those places, and just like the beauty of the architecture, but then you might be in an outdoor amphitheater with the backdrop of the snowy Alps. So
I think it's important too, as Americans and as, American teenagers who, are traveling with us, we really don't understand how other cultures and other crowds are going to, receive our music, and playing for, city mayors who take time out of their day to come see us, or dignitaries from the town. I mean, we've had entire towns shut down and have a festival for us on a weekday for us to perform. And it's really powerful seeing how music is so much appreciated in Europe, and especially music being performed by young people. We'll have, teenagers or even college students in Europe that come up to our students and say, hey, I wish I had the opportunity in high school to play my instrument in, every day in band class or orchestra class or choir class that you guys have. We only have a community ensemble. Or, I did this in elementary school, but once I got into, later on in my school years, I wasn't able to perform and do these musical opportunities that you guys have in the United States. So it really puts everything into perspective, and just seeing the appreciation of these communities coming out to not only hear us play, but offer their thanks. Again, I remember, a few summers ago, we were in Belgium, and the entire town had this festival. The mayor was there, city townspeople. We performed for other students who are around. It's a pretty incredible sight to see how music, transcends the world and does so much for everybody.
Yeah, I was in the audience in Dinkelsbühl, Germany last year, and in this beautiful bandshell outdoor medieval town, walled city type of thing. And this couple came up at the end and said they were just backpacking around Europe and heard this music from the other side of the wall. Yeah. And then they asked where that tour was going next, and it turned out they were going to be 3 days later where the tour was. So they took down the concert information so they could go hear them again. Which is, it is definitely understanding how communities come together to hear everybody share their love of music, right? I think it's been really good.
We always tell our students that it's really unique and different to perform for these audiences because you're so used to playing for your parents and your other directors and your siblings who are sitting there with their iPad and their headphones. They're not even watching. So to go somewhere where they don't know you, they don't speak your language very well, but they're so excited and appreciative and coming out, filling the streets to hear you play. It's just something you can't experience anywhere else.
Yeah, I think another cool concert venue is when we play in Abano Terme in northern Italy. It's a light concert, and when we start the concert, it's outside. There's not a whole lot of people around, but we always tell the students, just wait. When folks, like you said, start hearing the music, they're going to come out from their apartments, their night walks, their cafes, and fill this area. And by the time the second or third tune happens, it's standing room only. All the chairs are filled. There's folks with their pets, their younger, siblings, or their children hanging out and just hearing music. And it's like, you don't really get a lot of that in America. And again, like we said, our students really, get an idea of what music really does.
Yeah. And there's just something about that connection and that just appreciation flowing both ways from the audience to the musicians, and then the musicians really feeling appreciated and I think as the tour goes on, they just embrace it more and more because they become more comfortable with stopping to accept thanks from somebody who's maybe doesn't speak any English at all and just wants to shake their hand and so I think it's a powerful gift. Let's shift to the non-performing experiences that the students get to have, the cultural things, the areas to explore on their own free time, which is structured, but gives them some independence. How do you feel that evolves over the tour?
I think one of the great things that we do ahead of time is our college stay. We spend 2 days before we travel to basically teach our students how to be mature traveling young people and also safe. They learn how to travel in their groups of 3 or more. They learn how to protect their passports. They learn how to, ask questions and, cross the street correctly and all these things that you maybe take for granted in America or in a town where it isn't as urban or as
or walkable
as some of these towns in Europe. So seeing them on the first few days with their groups trying to, okay, we have an hour here, let's go try and find something to eat. And let's figure out if we can, go to the counter. Do they speak English? Do they take my euros? Do I have to use, how does that all work? To going to, like you said, some of these free days that are in the middle of the tour where students are hanging out with friends and hiking up to the top of a mountain. Going to eat at traditional Austrian, restaurants and ordering things that we never would have imagined they would have ordered at any other time. Going into a historic museum to see artwork that is from, 500 years ago. It's pretty incredible. I think a lot of the cultural things that we do that the students can explore, some of these towns are really awesome. A lot of the smaller towns that we visit, and again, AMA does a really good job of putting us in places where there's not a lot of public transportation. There's not a lot of street traffic as far as cars, buses. It's very walkable. It's very pedestrian friendly. So for us as directors, knowing our students are going to be safe and knowing our students are going to have great experiences and be able to explore Europe without, the crazy hubbub of some of these larger cities in Europe. Like, AMA doesn't travel to London, doesn't really travel to Paris, but some of these smaller towns that are very pedestrian friendly, very safe, are great for our students to kind of get into. It's really cool seeing our students travel to Venice and realize, wow, there are literally no cars or buses or anything here, and I can walk 5 feet and be on a different island and get lost and look up and say, where are we? It's pretty funny kind of watching our students kind of navigate cities like that. Traveling to some of these cities where, like where Mozart was born, seeing the cathedral where he was baptized, his birthplace, seeing the composer's cemetery in Vienna. Beethoven was right there. Like, this is actually happening. In Prague, the historic Prague castle, like you talked about, cities like Dinkelsbühl, who were spared during the wars hundreds of years ago, that we don't have in America. Every single year, there is something for students to see, to explore, to enjoy. And I think it really, again, opens up their perspective to travel. We have a lot of students who, when they leave the tour, say, hey, I can't wait to come back here later on, or I can't wait to bring my family here. Or now that I've been to, middle of nowhere, Austria, I would feel comfortable coming back to middle of nowhere, Austria, and hanging out in a place like this. Or when it snows, coming and doing the culture here. It really brings them, a newfound level of travel and cultural appreciation, of course.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting and unique things about the way that we travel is we are on coach buses for the entire tour. So we'll fly into a major hub like a Frankfurt or a Munich, and we will be on the bus for 2-3 weeks, depending on the year and depending on the tour. But we're going to go through places on those buses that you wouldn't go if you were just going for a week with your family, or if you only had like 4 nights to do a quick trip into Paris or something like that. So we're stopping at these places that are a little more off the beaten path, more kind of steeped in that local culture. They're not as urbanized. They're not as Americanized. So a lot of the touristy hubs, you can get the food you're used to. You can, swing in and have McDonald's, but I guess you can get McDonald's anywhere. But going into a small village where you have to learn to communicate and just really immerse yourself in the culture, it's really unique and special. I think the students love it, and just the challenge and excitement of it. Everyone's so welcoming. Everyone is so polite. I think German and Austrian people, especially, when you say a few phrases and you're just saying thank you and please and can I have and where is, they're thrilled, like absolutely thrilled that the kids are doing that. So, just taking that home with them is really special.
Yeah. I think we often put 1 or 2 major cities to give them the flavor of, oh, I've got to navigate, this open market and then getting 5 blocks away and all of that. But as you say, most of it are these, just really quaint and culturally significant locations. So they get an ebb and flow to their trip. It's not, 5 days in Munich, and which is fantastic as a single traveler or a family. But for a group of students, that could get really overwhelming and hard to corral them. But if we're going to spend a day or 2 there, and we have a very clear itinerary where we're taking them to different highlights and so forth, and then you can have a little bit more breathing room and independence in Westendorf, I think it creates just such a nice flow, which leads me beautifully into a question about how the students evolve in their maturation from when you see them dropped off by their parents, potentially a little anxious and, worried about what's to come, compared to the check-in at the return airport and the flight home. What do you see happen with them as far as their maturity?
Yeah,
learning how to set your alarm and not depend on something is still a thing. And
the students that show up to the college are not the same students that are landing on the return flight home, and their families say it all the time. Those first couple of nights at the college where we have to bang on a couple doors in the morning and we're like, hey, time to wake up. Here's where you're going. And then at the end, they come home and tell their parents, oh, here are all the phrases in these different languages that I've learned. And here are the things that I learned to navigate. And, oh, I have, responsibility over all these items. And they're just
We had a
So
student.
mature and
We had a
responsible
student a couple of
afterwards.
years ago who was very nervous about traveling because she was a very picky eater, and was really nervous about, hey, this type of food and this and this and this. And we would go to restaurants and see her eating these things and be like, well, I thought you said you couldn't. Oh, well, I decided to try it and it's actually pretty good. Or now I do this and now I do that. And, just being in a place where you have to adapt and you have to be open-minded and be optimistic really gets students to start thinking about, I think I was just doing this because I wanted to be different, but now I can appreciate, for in her example, the food and certain things, which is great. The coffee culture was really big over there, and students really fall in love with drinking coffee and going to a cafe, and that's a thing to do. So that's pretty cool to see. And also, like we talked about, going to some of these historic places. I think AMA does a really good job about programming and itineraries. Places like Dachau concentration camp or Mauthausen, Fort Breendonk. Some of these more significant European cultural sites that really put our lives into perspective. Seeing locals take in some of these places. We've been to Normandy Cemetery, the American Cemetery in Normandy, and just kind of taking a step back and really appreciating the world and kind of where we are. And students, young people, 14, 15, 16 years old, that could be pretty heavy for them.
And over there, it's often part of their curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
So like German students are, expected to go to those places as just part of their history classes.
Yeah.
And so our students getting to experience it, it's powerful.
Yeah. Going to a folkloric festival and hearing traditional music, whether it's Austrian, a Croatian folk festival, learning how to Viennese waltz, some of these things where we tell the students about it and they're like, oh, there's no way I'm going to participate at these events. I'm going to sit quietly because I'm introverted. I'm not doing it. And then when they say, hey, stand up and yodel, and all the students stand up and learn how to yodel, or let's all do this traditional dance together, and there's nobody sitting down. And you look at the students and you're saying, I never would have guessed he would have been up. I never would have guessed she would have done this. I never would have guessed they would have done this. It's maturity at its finest. And it just goes to show you how, again, the social aspect, the travel aspect, and all united through music gets these students from individuals to literally a family in 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's amazing. I just love to hear that. And I love seeing it, when I'm over there and intersect with the tours, and you can just see the growth. It's so exciting. I wanted to sort of take a moment to talk about our communication app that not only is for you on tour, but also how parents can feel a little bit more connected and possibly secure that their, kid is halfway around the world.
Yeah, we have a lot of students that are able to use international data on the trip, but we also have a lot that choose to just stay on Wi-Fi where it's available. So we're really grateful to use the GroupSpot app. Shout out John Luckenbill if you're watching this. Great app. Everyone use the app. But what we do throughout the trip is it has so many plugins where we put our entire itinerary day by day. The parents know exactly where their students are going to be. And as staff, we kind of throw out communications throughout the day with photos, happenings, where we are, what we're doing. And of course, the students, when they get lunch, they're looking for Wi-Fi immediately. Mm-hmm. So they're uploading their photos. That's how they keep in touch with their families really often. It's hard to get high schoolers to text their mom a photo.
Yes, they're not going. Or even, high school students are really into Facebook, like they used to be 10, 20 years ago. So a lot of parents who use Facebook as a way to keep in touch, or maybe even use Instagram, some of the students aren't really on those apps as much as they used to be. So having an app like GroupSpot where students can upload pictures of their friends, and then without knowing, but of course they do know, their parents can go on there and say, oh, look, my daughter uploaded these pictures of her and her friends. I don't know any of these people, but it looks like she's having a great time with these new folks. And having that, like you said, sense of security and sense of, hey, not only is she safe, but she's met a new group of people that are like-minded, that she's traveling together with. It's a great way to keep in touch. The great thing about GroupSpot is you can then download those photos and kind of make your own keepsake. It's also a great way for us to, take attendance. We're responsible for the different buses. All of our coach captains have access to their own coaches. We can monitor attendance in the mornings. We can monitor attendance when people get back from, that hour lunch break or that free time. And again, keep everybody safe through technology, but also like Jen mentioned, being able to use it via data and Wi-Fi is important too.
Yeah. GroupSpot is kind of a nice marriage of the old tech, which was taking attendance on a sheet of paper, where if we're in a small village and we're, at 2 neighboring hotels, we can do that simultaneously on the app. We as head directors know where all the students are then. We know that they're safe, but then also it's not like a Facebook or Instagram where you have to worry about security and you have to worry about who's seeing all of the photos. It's all in one place that it's really just the students and their parents. So we're contributing to, hey, here are some photos of what's going on during the day. The students are uploading theirs, and then the parents can just flip through it. So it feels both safe and streamlined. It's very easy. So
and it's a private group that you have to have an invitation code to join, and you have to be accepted by the head director who's managing it. So if somebody, came across the tour code and they're not a member or a parent, they're just not allowed in. So it's another way of creating a community that can stay connected. And, also we feel from the company standpoint, it empowers you as head directors to really be able to track things very quickly at all times through
we also use GroupSpot in the very beginning of our tour experience. So for example, now in January, we're listening to our students' seating auditions. They submit those all via GroupSpot. So the students have to learn how to log into GroupSpot, how to learn GroupSpot, how to upload things to get their feet wet. And again, communicating through GroupSpot, using it ahead of time so that when we do get to Europe, they're already familiar with, hey, let's check in GroupSpot. Of course, they have their paper itinerary, and of course, they have all their own documents. But we all know that students, have the device, and on the device is GroupSpot. And if they don't want to get into all their papers and look at page 4 or page 5, it's all on GroupSpot, and they know how to use it. And you'll be surprised how many students will ask a question that we'll overhear, and someone else will respond to be like, man, just check the GroupSpot. It's in the GroupSpot. Or, hey, Mrs. Zimmer, I have these photos to send you. Put them in GroupSpot so everybody can see. Oh, okay. It becomes the thing. It becomes the thing.
And students afterwards, like, for example, right now, as we were seeing kids at our honor bands, they were telling us like, oh, I still go on to the app because they can still access it afterwards. And like, I just look at the memories and see my friends and all the people that I miss. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah. It's one more type of souvenir that, isn't a hard something you hold in your, it's not a cuckoo clock or a Tyrolean hat or something. But for them, for a lot of them, this is really something that keeps them engaged afterwards. One of the things we had connected about before today was the idea of, we know that there are families who may be on the fence about whether AMA is the right experience for their student when there are other travel options, other summer experiences. Obviously, we're speaking from a point of knowing its validity and enrichment. But do you have any thoughts you might share on that?
Yeah. As a high school teacher, I see students all the time, hey, we have summer plans, there's scout camps. There are, camps where, in their local churches or communities. But like you mentioned, there's also those opportunities through tours that maybe through a summer program to go to ABC country for 5 or 6 days. I was talking with a colleague of mine a few years ago who went on one of those trips, who's a music person. And they were talking to me saying, the reason why I think my students would enjoy AMA more is, yes, you get to go to this cool country, and yes, you get to go, on this trip that's not associated with music and some of these other tours. But what are you doing there other than, visiting a country and seeing sights? That's it. There may be folks there that you know or don't know, but you're pretty much going with a couple people from your high school that you already are friends with. And you're going to this place for just a couple of days, getting your feet wet. There's no real cultural, immersions. You're going to the big places, the big cities. There's nothing really happening except for just visiting. Whereas with AMA, if you're a musician, if you're, a choir student, orchestra student, band student, not only are you going to a different country or a different group of countries and traveling, but you are getting immersed in cultural experiences. you are seeing places that, like my wife mentioned earlier, are off the beaten path that can only be accessed through, a tour guide via bus. But also you're performing your instrument across the globe, and not just to play, but playing in venues that are unique, that are filled with communities that so enjoy it, and meeting people from all across the area. In the Southeast is a large community. You may be the only person from your high school, from your school district or county, and you're going to have 85 to 100 brand new friends from all across, the Southeast. I think too, parents always worry about, hey, I don't know if I should send my child to a summer program, let alone that summer program being, halfway across the world in Europe. But because of the safety and because of, every single director, every single staff member is a music educator. We all know how to, corral students. We know how to interact with students. We know how to build culture and build community. So we're not taking, the band parent who wants to go and wants to, act like a band director, but doesn't know the things about being a band director. We're not taking, whose sister who may be 6 or 7 years old. It's way different when you're traveling with musicians who appreciate music, who may have traveled before or have had that experience. It's way different than just traveling to somewhere just because it's available to you.
I think AMA is a nice blend of those cultural kind of language tours, but also a summer festival vibe. Mm. So of course it's not going to replace spending the summer at Tanglewood or Interlaken. Yeah. Like, you should pursue those things as well. But I think one summer, for example, doing a trip where you can sing in the cathedral where Mozart played organ, you're just not going to find that anywhere else. And our students, from a musical perspective, they'll often ask, they'll say, well, I have all these summer opportunities. I could go here, I could go here, I could do this. And most of them are musical opportunities. And so one summer, spend your summer on AMA, go hang out with your friends, go to a chocolate factory in Belgium, go on a gondola ride through Venice. It's
see snow at the top of the glacier at 10,000 feet in June. Like,
you can
where do you do that?
You can sit in the practice room at home.
Yeah. I think too, some of these smaller, cultural tours or foreign language tours, maybe 10 or 12 people, they may be all from your school. Again, they may have parents, guardians, whatever. Some of these larger things of like 250, 300 people, like that's a lot. And the cool thing about AMA is, the tours are around between 85 and maximum 125, 150 people. So you're guaranteed to get to know everybody. You're guaranteed to meet people and be friends with them and not just hang out with folks from the same town as you. It doesn't put you in this box of, hey, we go to this school, so when we go on this trip, we're just going to hang out with each other and that's it. Like, it doesn't work like that. We prevent that from happening. So not only is your student going to receive not only a travel experience worth a lifetime, performance opportunities worth a lifetime, but being able to meet people, make friends, and have lifelong memories with those folks, I think also gives AMA that other things that a lot of other, summer programs may or may not offer.
Yeah. While you were speaking, it jogged in my memory that maybe we could just talk briefly about the nursing staff that comes on the trip as well.
Yeah, AMA always travels with at least one nurse and sometimes two, sometimes also a guidance counselor. We preach student safety from day one, even when we're talking to parents about coming on this trip. But something that makes us feel even more comfortable is traveling with full-time medical professionals. And it could be as simple as, hey, I, stubbed my toe and need a Band-Aid, or I have a headache and I normally don't get headaches. What's going on? But it also could be, hey, I've had a stuffy nose for like 3 or 4 days, and I need to talk to somebody about this. And we're not medical professionals. It's great to have someone there who is a full-time medical professional to be able to do that. And in some cases, if they say, hey, we need to find a local clinic, or we need to go to a pharmacy and get some, some medications or whatever, having our guide there, and again, every group travels with an English speaking, but also German, Italian, French speaking guide that can communicate with the bus drivers, communicate with locals, and communicate with our nurse or medical professional to take those friends to a doctor or to somewhere else.
Yeah, one of the best things I think about being on staff with AMA is we as directors and music educators really just get to focus on the music part and building the community, because we do take the guide who he's calling ahead with the venue to check in and making sure they have the right number of chairs. All the logistics that are such a pain during the school year, those things are taken care of. We don't have to diagnose whether someone needs antibiotics. We have a medical staff for that. So with our drivers that are with us the entire time, with our translator and tour escort that's making those advanced plans and calling ahead to the restaurants, everybody really works together really well so that every staff member can focus on their thing and do their thing really well.
Yeah.
It takes so much stress off. It's really nice.
Yeah. I mean, traveling with a mental health professional is great. Travel anxiety is real. Homesickness is real. And, in today's time with students, anxiety can be high, and it's great to travel. You usually travel with a school counselor, so they're used to being around teenagers and being around, students that may struggle with anxiety or struggle with mental health. So it's great having that person there as well. Again, like Jen mentioned, to put everybody at ease. And everybody has a job. Everybody has a situation. We're all in this together, and we're all in this to make everybody safe. Everybody have a great time. And if an issue comes up, to fix it and not let it have a negative impact.
Right. I love that. I just think parents would really appreciate hearing that and knowing all the thought that goes into it well before the tour meets at the college.
Yeah. The nicest thing for us, starting our Stars and Stripes tour in 2023, having over 40 years of history of the company, there's a lot of learning and adapting that took place before our tour even started. So we have we have quite a long code of conduct, as you know, that students sign, and we always joke that line 15 of the code of conduct has a name attached to it.
Yes.
That necessitated this. And so we come into things with that foundation, with all those years of experience. Sometimes parents will ask us, well, hey, what about the world travel climate? What if something were to happen? How do you feel safe? Well, the best thing about AMA is they've been traveling to these cities and these countries for decades.
The tour escorts know where the U.S. Embassy is. The tour escorts know where the hospitals are. The tour escorts know
the
who to call.
The train schedule to go to the hospital.
Yes, they know the city commissioner who makes all those decisions that they need to call after hours. We may not know that, but because AMA has been doing this for so long, and you may, in these tiny towns that you guys travel to, these people. Yes, we do, and
personally,
they will answer the phone at 2 a.m. if we needed it.
Yeah, and if we needed, if something happened, if there was a protest in a city and we needed to pivot, there's so many contacts. There's hotels, 20 minutes down the road, a different spot. Everything is so well planned and so well connected that it's incredibly safe and adaptable to make students and families feel really at ease.
There was a situation a few years ago where a concert venue all of a sudden couldn't be used. And the work that the AMA office, the tour escort, the guides on the ground, the folks in those areas were able to quickly get together and say, okay, doesn't mean we have to cancel. We're just going to find another location that is just as great, just as accommodating for these people. And it was perfect. And it literally took, 2 or 3 days to get together. The students, nothing was destroyed in the tour because of the experiences and because of the information and because of the traditions and everything that's been happening with AMA over the last 50 years to not have to worry about something, derailing our activities.
Yeah. That's great. Well, I really appreciate, I really appreciate all of your time. And we're just about done here, but I'm going to play a little rapid fire. Give me the one word that comes into your head for each of you. Doesn't have to be the same, just to see what sparks it. So one word to describe AMA.
Hyphenated word, life-changing.
I'm kind of goofy, but I say amazing.
Nice. Excellent. Okay, number 2, favorite country you've visited.
Austria.
I always want to say Italy. I think it's Austria, but I love Italy too.
Italy's great.
It's a good problem to have, right? The most memorable photo you have taken.
See, I'm an Italy fan, and I think standing in front of the Trevi Fountain in Rome was incredible. Really memorable photo.
For me, again, I'm an Austria fan. Staying in some of these historic pensions in areas like Westendorf, these homes with these, small little bed and breakfast type rooms have balconies with flowers that they put out in the springtime and summer. And looking out on your balcony, seeing these beautiful flowers, the mountain in the background, maybe some fog across it.
The hills are alive.
Literally, it's seen out of the sound of music. And I have so many photos of those. Every year I look forward to getting out on my balcony in one of these pensions and saying, this is the recreation of this photo for this year. It's really, I've seen out of the sound of music.
That's excellent. And last question, what are you most looking forward to this summer?
Ooh, we have never been to Vienna, so really excited to go to Vienna. Really excited to have a Sacher-Torte and to waltz and go to the Composer Cemetery. We've never been.
For me too. Never been on the Danube River, and traveling from Vienna down to Slovakia into Bratislava. It's going to be awesome. You hear about the Danube all over, European history. So I'm looking forward to that.
Excellent. Let's look ahead to 2027. And I know that we've started working on your itinerary. What really excites you about the 2027 Stars and Stripes tour?
Go ahead and say it.
Italy.
We're heading back to Italy.
We're doing some stops in northern Italy that our tour has never done before. So we will be in Venice and Abano Terme, which we love, but we're also going to kind of branch out from there. I think Milan might be one of our stops.
Yep. And Bologna, I think. Yep.
One of our stops. Yep. Yeah. So the food in Italy. Love it.
Also, we've done this before in Salzburg, but a lot of people don't know that Salzburg was made famous by the salt industry. So there are working salt mines in Salzburg. We've taken students to the salt mines before, and we're really excited in 2027 to go back to the salt mines. You go deep into the earth and literally see how this salt is taken from the ground and shipped all over the world. It's a really, really cool tour. Our students really, really enjoy it. So excited about going back to the salt mines.
They have tracks that the carts used to be on, and they kind of sit you on this little, tram type of thing. And you go into the mine, and then there's so much stuff to see. There's slides as you go. There's this little ride through this underground lake waterway thing. It's very Epcot vibes down in the Salzburg.
It's great. Yeah.
It's true. I think in Austria in particular, there are moments that you step off the bus and feel like you're in a Disney movie.
Yeah.
Because it is just quintessentially, and the salt mines, that lake in the salt mines is one of those moments where you're like, I think I saw this in a movie, but I'm here in real life. So it's very exciting. Okay, so I want to thank you so much for your time today. And we really just appreciate all the work you do for the Stars and Stripes Tour and the students. And we look forward to seeing photos and hearing about it in 2026.
Yeah, thanks.
Sounds great. Thanks for having us.
We're excited.
Yeah. Okay, take care.